Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The medical marijuana. The medical marijuana. Radio show. The medical marijuana for you and me. Ah, yeah, the medical marijuana. Whoa, 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 yeah, the medical. It's the medical marijuana show. You will know. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Hey, boy, don't feel my world untrue. Yeah, I want to talk to you. My world can be true if you do what I tell you to. I want to talk to you.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Medical Marijuana Radio for Saturday, March 1st, 2014. I'm your host, Larry Love. We're right here on the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. We're live Saturday nights at 7 o'clock Mountain, 6 o'clock Pacific, and 9 o'clock on the East Coast to bring you the latest in recreational and medical marijuana news and information. And tonight we'll be talking about the New Mexico program, which is going to have some rule changes, much needed, and we're going to discuss that with Len Goodman of one of the dispensaries, New Mexican, and Robert Pack, one of the leaders of a patient alliance in one section of New Mexico. But before we do that, we every Saturday night, we read the strain report for people in New Mexico who need to shop around to see what's available for them.
You better shop around. Oh, yeah, you better shop around. Shop around.
And, we always are talking about, shortages and so forth. And so we have a few of the distributors have given me their list for this week. So coming up this week at Canaceutics, starting on Tuesday, is Super Lemon Haze, Bubba Kush, Fruity, Blueberry Kush, Critical Plus, Rock Lock, and Zero Gravity. Again, that's from Canaceutics in Albuquerque. Going down to MedZen this week, we'll have Urkel Star Dog, Hash Skunk, Blue Goo, ATF, Super Lemon Haze, Shiskaberry, Willie Skunk, Mazar, Black Dahlia, and The Perps. Again, that's MedZen. And New Mexican Natural Medicine, Len Goodman will be on later in the show after the first break. And they're going to have this week Tangerine Dream, Trainwreck, Medicine Man, Canatonic. They also have Nebula, grown by G&G Genetics and available at New Mexican. And from CG Corrigan, New Mexican will have Green Crack. Of course, they always have plenty of edibles and topicals and all kinds of great stuff over there in Santa Fe. Also down in Albuquerque, Sandia Botanicals this week will have Critical 47, Blue Cheese, and Super Silver Haze. And upcoming for them in the next few weeks will be Green Kush and Flow. And it's curing now and will be available in the next few weeks. They also have Dry Keef and Sandia Spliffs. That's Sandia Botanicals in Albuquerque. Swap, also down in that area. Their indicas are Bubba Kush, The Perps, and Kush. And their hybrids are Canatonic, G13 Haze, and God Bud. So let's get right over to the news and what will be the subject of our show this evening. And let's pull this article up. Since 2007, we've had a program here in New Mexico, and it really got started providing medicine for patients in 2009 with one producer, and then they added about 4 more a few months later. But there's always been a shortage here for some reason. Of course, the reason is obvious. That, they stated early on in this program that law enforcement needed to be addressed, and they were worried that too much medicine might go out the back door. I guess they're worried about the people they license, but they shouldn't be because they're investigated. They didn't want an excess of medicine to hit the streets. Therefore, they really kept the plant count down for many reasons, and what's happened is that we've never had enough cannabis available to the patients in the program. We have over 10,600 patients now, and there still is not enough, and it has not been addressed since Governor Martinez took office 4 years ago. This is from the Santa Fe, New Mexican newspaper here in Santa Fe, in their health and science section. The state seeks increase in medical pot to meet program demand, and this is written by Phaedra Haywood. The state health department announced Friday it plans to license more nonprofit producers to grow marijuana for the 10,600 patients enrolled in its medical cannabis program. And it also will increase the number of plants licensed producers can grow. The change follows years of complaints from patients and would-be producers that the state's 23 licensed growers were not producing enough cannabis to meet the demand. It also comes on the heels of the health department's own survey, released last fall, that indicated only about 20% of the demand for medical marijuana is being met. The agency proposes to add 12 more nonprofit producers and increase the number of plants each is allowed to grow from a total of 150, including plants and seedlings, to 150 mature plants plus up to 300 seedlings. And we're quoting here, we take the needs of the medical cannabis patients very seriously, Department Secretary Retta Ward said in a written statement Friday. We now have a plan to meet current and future patient needs. The statement also said Ward has accepted the Medical Cannabis Advisory Board's recommendations, and here's the good news, everybody. They have accepted, finally, recommendations by their esteemed board of doctors to add Parkinson's disease and Huntington's disease to the list of conditions that qualify patients to use medical cannabis, bringing the total number of qualifying conditions to 19. Now, they turned down traumatic brain injury at that same meeting. And of course, there'll be another meeting coming up sometime in April. I'll give you the dates of that, where you can present new conditions to be approved or not. This article goes on, the proposed changes won't take effect until after the public hearing occurs, sometime this spring, said the statement issued late Friday. The department will begin accepting applications from potential producers after the hearing. It has been several years since the agency has accepted new applications from producers. Health Department spokesman Kenny Vigil said Friday he couldn't be more specific about the date of the hearing, but he said the time and place of the hearing and written details of the proposed changes to the medical cannabis program will be made public 30 days before the hearing. That's according to law, of course. Department lawyers are scheduled to appear in district court this coming Friday, that's the 7th, to address motions in a lawsuit filed against the agency in January by a man who has been trying to obtain a license to become a nonprofit cannabis producer for the program since 2009. In his complaint, Mark Springer asked the court to compel the Secretary of the New Mexico Department of Health to ensure a reasonably sufficient cannabis supply for the demand of qualified patients to treat their debilitating conditions. A handful of other would-be producers joined in another lawsuit against the department that alleges, among other things, that the application process for becoming a producer is so vague and arbitrary that it deprives the applicants of their due process rights. That case, filed in 2011, continues to work its way through the courts. Again, that's written by Phaedra Haywood from the Santa Fe, New Mexican. My brief comment on that is that I don't know that these plans that they have to help the program move along is going to happen real fast. I think we're 9 months away from seeing any kind of a change, and that's a lifetime for some people who need this medicine. So let's read a couple more articles here. You know what? I'm going to play you an interesting clip from Massachusetts before the break here. Massachusetts is just been starting their program. There's a lot of stuff to be worked out. They have a very good caregiver situation there, which we don't have here, where caregivers can actually grow and supply patients. So here's the latest out of Massachusetts.
Until medical marijuana dispensaries open in Massachusetts, which may start happening as soon as this summer, patients who can legally use pot for medical reasons are supposed to either grow their own or designate someone to grow it for them. Under the law, that person is known as a caregiver. But there are limits as to what a caregiver can legally do, and right now the system does not appear to be running as intended.
My name is Bill Downing, and though I'm acting as a caregiver at the moment, I'm actually an insurance broker. It's much more exciting to be a caregiver than an insurance broker.
We visited Bill Downing in his small, cramped basement just off the garage of his Cape in a residential area of suburban Boston. This is where he runs his self-described caregiving operation,
which is a little shop inside of my home, and there's a metal rack with all kinds of salves and tinctures and lip balms and edible cannabis products.
The room is dimly lit and full of stuff. A large desk, assorted chairs, overflowing metal shelves, and marijuana leaves hanging from the rafters and sitting in pitchers of water. There are 2 small rooms with pot plants growing. A back closet-like area holds shelves with acrylic bins and bags of marijuana. This is where Downing shows patients his products.
I have 4 kinds of marijuana right now. This is called Elvis.
What is that good for someone medically?
Well, Elvis is a hybrid, so it has many of the great properties of both indica and sativa. So this would be good for somebody who's looking to calm down, keep random thoughts from taking them over. You know, anxiety, for instance, would be very good for this. And to some degree, pain.
So how many patients do you have right now?
Over 350.
350. And don't the regulations say you're only supposed to have 1 patient at a time?
The regulation violates the statute.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, the statute allows for caregiving. The regulation does not.
The State Department of Public Health issued those regulations governing medical marijuana 4 months after the law passed by voters went into effect last year. While Downing admits that he's violating the DPH rule, saying that each caregiver can only serve 1 patient, he says the department is fully aware of what's going on.
I've been in contact with them ever since the very first day I started this. I've been sending in forms for every patient, and they've never contacted me once, ever, for anything. The State Department of Health made this limitation because they wanted to eliminate the caregiver function. And there's probably many, many reasons why they wanted to do that. But I think that probably one of them is that, in essence, caregivers are competing with their sugar daddies. And their sugar daddies are the guys who are throwing them the tens of thousands of dollars for all those applications, for all those fees that they're going to be charging for dispensaries.
The model in Massachusetts is set up is that we have a dispensary model.
Karen Van Unen is the recently hired director of the medical marijuana program for the State Department of Public Health. She won't directly address Downing's allegation that the state simply didn't want caregivers to work out in the first place. She says caregivers were meant to fill in a gap until dispensaries start providing marijuana.
In our model in Massachusetts, the caregiver role is about supporting patients who need help with self-administering it or accessing it. The caregiver role is not set up to function like a dispensary.
Van Unen won't say whether a caregiver having 350 patients shows the system is not working.
Our role is about regulating the dispensaries and not about individuals who are practicing the way this gentleman is.
An organization set up to connect medical marijuana patients with caregivers called Compassionate Caregivers of Massachusetts tells us that most caregivers went underground after the regulations went into effect last May. It simply isn't sustainable, they say, for a caregiver to grow marijuana for just 1 person. Now, a spokesman says the organization gets about 15 to 20 emails a day from patients looking for caregivers, but the group can't help because there are not enough. Again, DPH's Van Unen.
You know, I really want to be careful about talking about there being a shortage because until our model is fully launched and up and running, we don't really know what the need is and what the demand is going to look like.
Let me just check the door
Someone's
here.
knocking at your door. You're busy.
Hi, I'm Bill.
At caregiver Bill Downing's house, it's clear demand is high. During our visit, a new patient arrived about every 10 minutes.
2 ounces, let's see it, 260 an ounce, that's 520. And then 130, that's 650.
58-year-old Tom Sabin of Rockland is buying marijuana to treat pain from chronic pancreatitis and neuropathy. At this visit, he spends $650 on marijuana and another $90 on chocolate hashish. He explains that his primary care doctor wrote a letter saying that he agrees that Sabin might benefit from medical marijuana, but that was not an official recommendation. So Sabin took that letter to a specialized clinic where a doctor gave him the necessary certification, which Downing required him to show. How much would you say you smoke a day?
Anywhere from 6 to 12 joints a day. Quite a bit. It beats taking oxycodone. If I was taking the pills that the doctors give me, I couldn't stand here and talk to you right now because I'm a drooling idiot on this stuff.
Is this marijuana here grown in these rooms next door under the lights primarily, or where do you get this marijuana from?
Certainly I did grow marijuana for patients, and I'm actually unable to grow nearly enough marijuana to service the patients, as you might imagine. So the rest of it comes from the black market. People I've known for decades.
So how do you know it's good and it is what it's supposed to be then? Because
I've been trading in marijuana since I was 15 years old, and I know an awful lot about it.
Public health officials point out that anyone in the medical marijuana program who gets the drug from the black market is breaking the law. They say DPH will continue to tweak the regulations after dispensaries open, and they won't rule out the possibility that caregivers will be able to continue to operate. Downing expects that dispensaries will mark the end of his operation, but he thinks none of this will matter in a few years. He's hoping that medical marijuana will be the first step toward completely legalizing pot in Massachusetts.
Okay, so that's what's happening in Massachusetts, where they're having the same problems with their program that's just started, I believe, at the beginning of the year, talking about a shortage, and I can understand that, but we've had that problem here in New Mexico since the program started itself, which has been 5 years. So we'll be right back to discuss that with Len Goodman of New Mexican and Robert Pack from the Patient Alliance Group. So we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
It's all about the 420 MMJ Radio.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is HEMP.org.
Hi, this is Larry Love from Medical Marijuana Radio. Please listen to this important information about a great device by magicalbutter.com to make your oils, tinctures, and butter.
Magical Butter is a device with a microprocessor-controlled program sequence designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. We believe in herbal remedies and using pharmaceutical pills only when medically necessary. Our device is simple to use. Combine herbs with butter or oil, press a button, and walk away. Magical Butter does everything else. It grinds, heats, and stirs. Please browse our site to discover how to eat the treat. Thank you for your support, and have a magical day.
Again, for your tinctures, butter, and oils, that's magicalbutter.com. This is a great appliance. Use coupon code LOVE to get $20 off.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Hi, as you know, over the next few years, the cannabis industry is going to explode into a multi-million-dollar industry. 420webdesign.com is your affordable design provider. 420 Web Design prides themselves on fair prices and a grounded staff. They listen to their ganjapreneurs' website needs. Getting into the marijuana industry doesn't need to break your bank. Our sites come with tons of features. Just a few of them include responsive designs for mobile viewers, easy to update platforms, built-in SEO and SMO tools, enterprise-level security, video tutorials, database backups, Google Maps, onboard analytics, and much more. This is backed by a decade of website design and development experience. For all of your 420 web design needs, go to 420webdesign.com. Again, 420webdesign.com. Check them out.
The medical marijuana. The medical marijuana. Radio show.
Hi, this is Steve D'Angelo, and you are listening to Medical Marijuana Radio.
Okay, we are back. We're going to get our guests on the line right now. Let's get Len first. Do-do-do. Calling Len. It's not ringing. Oh, here we go. Three ringy dingies. Okay. Here we go.
Hey, Larry.
Hey, Len, is you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Welcome to Medical Marijuana Radio. And,
Well, thank you.
And I'm just going to get Robert Pack on the line here real quick. And let's make sure I can do this. Add people to this call. And hold on, everybody. We're going to do this. We're going to get this going. Here we go. Calling Robert Peck. I don't hear it happening. Robert, if you are listening, why don't you go ahead and call in, and I'll add you when you do. Anyway, Len, welcome back to the show. And I read the article from the newspaper here in Santa Fe today. And what I'd like to do is,
back to the show.
if you could, I'm sorry, I'm getting some feedback. Can you turn something off over there, Len?
You want me to turn off my mic? It's the only thing I can think of.
No, not the mic. But do you have headphones, or are you listening through speakers?
I'm sorry, getting some feedback. Can you turn something off over there, Len?
I'm getting you.
You want me to turn off my mic? It's the only thing I can think
No,
of.
no, not your mic. Do you have headphones or not?
No,
Did that help?
Are you still getting feedback?
Not right now. Okay. All right, we're good. So anyway, Len, let me ask you this. You were on your way to India, a long-planned trip, and you decided to put it off because you knew something was going to come down. Was it worth changing your plans?
Oh, that's a good question. Now, there were a lot of reasons for it. That was just part of it, Larry.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about it. The increase, of course, now what they're proposing is to increase the plant count to 150 flowering plants or mature plants, and then 300 vegetative seedlings, clones, and cuttings, and so forth. So how fast do you feel that is going to help get more medicine out to the patients who have been having a hard time?
Well, realistically, the first key to it is when is the public meeting going to take place? And we don't know that. They've said it's the spring, so I assume sometime between April and June, and that's a variable. They have to finalize the regs. I don't know if this is the only change they're making or there are other things. Then they have to put public notice out with 30-day announcement, then have the hearing, and then the hearing officer gives a report, and then they have to accept or modify. And so that's an unknown. I think the question that's more easy to identify is that once the rule change is in place, how soon will patients get medicine?
Yeah, that is the big question, because it will take time. For instance, I'm sure that you're probably going to have to build new rooms and so forth to accommodate this kind of thing. Currently, it's been 150 plants. So how many plants have you had in flower during this time? Is it 75 and 75, so that when they're finished?
Basically we keep 75 plants in flower.
Okay, so then if basically everybody's going to be able to double their flowering plant count. Okay, they're going to double that. But if you mash up the numbers, I'm just wondering whether that in itself is enough to make the shortage go away. I think that my feeling is that we should have been allowed to have at least 300 or 500. It doesn't even matter anymore now that the federal government has said, you go by your rules, and they're obviously letting people in Colorado and Washington and California have 1,000 plants. So they're being very conservative again here, Len. Again, like I said earlier, because they're afraid that excess is going to hit the streets. And with that being said, the patients never have enough themselves. So where do you think the flowering plant count should be?
Well, first let me say that I'm very happy. I really am happy that we're doing this and that it has gone up to 150 flowering plants. That's going to make a dramatic difference in the available supply. If everyone expands their operations so that they're actually put in twice as many lights, because adding more plants will accomplish nothing significant without building out to meet that. I mean, as you well know, you can put 20 plants under one light, do a sea of green, you'll get the same yield as if you put one plant under that light and do it right. So assuming that people do that, and they really invest the money, is what it takes, the time, energy, and money to double production. It'll double that, and it would actually do more than that, because right now we're faced with, we cut and harvest 10 plants, we load 10 vegetative plants, we start 10 new seedlings. So you're stuck with the 10 seedlings that you start winding up going into flower. The ideal way to grow is you would start about 30, which we can't do, but we could now start 20, take the 10 most robust ones and load them. So the yields will go up proportional to that as well. So I expect, at least in New Mexican, we will see about a 2 to 2.5 time increase in yield.
Will that be enough to for your patients alone?
Hard to say. We don't know how much our patients would buy if they could purchase what they need. We know we run out every week, but we don't know how much their need really is, because we don't have sufficient supply. But just looking at the survey, looking at the numbers, looking at the gut feeling, even DOH does not expect that the plant count increase is going to take care of the need. That's why they're considering licensing more producers.
Okay, but that being said, okay, licensing new producers, like you just said, we don't know when this rule change public hearing will take place. So if it takes place in May, then it usually takes 30 days after that for them to put anything into place. So if they open up, so if in May or June they open up applications, and I'm guessing they're going to get 300 applications. They probably have 200 already sitting there. And so once they start going through that application process, that could be another 3 or 4 months.
At least.
And normally, the old schedule used to be under Governor Richardson, was they would take applications, and then in July they would approve some, always half of what we needed and what was expected, and then again in November. That seems to be what was going on. So let's say they still stick to that kind of time frame. In November, let's say, and of course, when I read this, it says they're considering approving up to 12 producers. So they can consider that, but they can just maybe give 2 producers new licenses and so forth. It may not really be 12. So unless you've heard anything different than that, I'm sort of watching what's going on. But if that's the case, then they do license some people in November at the end of the year. It's going to be over a year from now till those people, a year and a half practically, until those people are up and running, the way I look at it.
Yeah, I think that's correct. If once the licenses go out, and that's going to take time. A couple of comments. One, I don't think that any of the license applications, and this is just my guess, any of the license applications are in place now. I think they're all going to hit the wastebasket, because my suspicion is that they're going to redo the licensing process. They're going to redo the definitions of what they're looking for, the requirements, a whole bunch of stuff to ensure as best as possible. I think they're going to do their due diligence and try to put in place producers who are really going to produce. As you know, there's a wide variety in what's happening among LNPs now.
Right.
So I think they're going to do a good job of it, which means that they've got to give time for people to create business plans, locations. They have to do their homework on it. Then they have to go through a rating system, a transparent, objective rating system as best they can to try and avoid future lawsuits like any other state contract that's put out. They're going to have to rank them. They're going to have an acceptable pile, an unacceptable pile. From the acceptable pile, they're then going to have to drive around the state and do site visits to approve locations. By that time, they should have data. Department of Health gets a quarterly report from all producers. They'll have data on what impact the plant count increase has had on the supply issue. With that data, they can then make decisions and say, okay, it looks like we're short X number of millions of grams, and to accommodate that, we need X number of producers, and they will license, I assume, enough to take care of that shortfall. They have to also decide where to put them, which brings up another whole question of access for rural patients. But that's all very time consuming. Assuming that new licenses are actually issued by, let's say, November, which I think was when you put it out there, and I think that's realistic. I don't think we'll see new licenses till sometime in the late fall. Then those guys have got to build out. That's going to take a month to 2. They can start their veg plants, but let's say it takes them 2 months to build out. They have veg plants ready to load by then, another 2 months, 2 to 2.5 months to grow, somewhere between a 10, 11-week flower period, another month to cure. So you're looking at 3, 4, 5. You're looking at, I would say, 6 months after licenses are issued before any additional supply hits the street. So that puts it into the spring of 2015.
I know, which maybe by the spring of 2015 we'll have legalized for adults in the next session in January of 2015. That would throw another whole wrench into organizing and getting things going. But that would be a good thing. And I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll have to wait and see. We got close, I think, this year, except for a couple of people. But okay, so let's get back to what would your plan be? So you're going to be able to flower out 150 plants if this is set in stone, if it's approved. Do you think it's worth, since there's going to be a public hearing, do you think it's worth campaigning to get that number raised a bit?
That's a good question. I think my gut feeling is probably not. Part of that's going to depend on what other rule changes are proposed. If the only rule change is an increase in plant count, and there's nothing else on the agenda, then my inclination would be to say, let's go with it, let's say great, and get it moving. Because if the hearing becomes contentious, and you were at the hearings in 2010, Larry, you remember what happened. If we have 200 or 300 people at those hearings objecting vociferously to rule changes, then the hearing officer's report is going to have to reflect that. Department of Health is going to have to take that into account, revise the rules again as best they can. They don't have to honor it, but they have to take it seriously and make modifications that make sense. Then you have another public notice of 30 days and another hearing. I don't think the patients can wait. I would rather see us get 150 mature plants in the flower as soon as possible, get medicine into the hands of patients as soon as possible. Our plan, and I think most producers' plans, are to start building out immediately, to start investing into space and lights and whatever we have to do to get it going, so that as soon as the rule change takes effect, we can go and do that very, very rapidly.
When you're talking to other producers, I think we're getting a little feedback right now, Len. How many of, not in numbers, but did you get a sense that some of these producers are going to have to scrap their current locations totally, or get a second location? Is it in our rules here in New Mexico where you are allowed to have two separate growing locations? There's a lot of stuff going on that needs to be deciphered.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know if it's in the rules or not. It's certainly the Department of Health's position has always been that you can only have one location. And I haven't had a chance to look into the rules and see if it's written there. If it's not, if it is written there, then that is one of the things that needs to be addressed at the hearing. If the present locations, I mean, you're looking at producers who have invested hundreds, literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have about 300,000 invested in our grow right now. If we have to walk away from that to recreate it, we can't do it. We can borrow the money to add on to in a new location for another 150 flowering plants. But if we have to double that investment, and the first half of it is throwing out what we've already done, there's a real economic question as to whether that's viable.
Right.
And I think that a few producers may think it is, but most are going to walk away from it and say we can't afford to do this.
And so what I'd like to do is I'm going to ask you a question when we come. We're going to take a quick break right now, but when we come back, I want to ask you what the procedure is in changing the rules. Okay, how fast can that happen, and what does the MCP and the DOH have to do? So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to put you on hold, and we'll be right back after these words from our sponsor.
It's all about the 420
Larry.
Radio.
Hi, as you know, over the next few years, the cannabis industry is going to explode into a multi-million-dollar industry. 420webdesign.com is your affordable design provider. 420 Web Design prides themselves on fair prices and a grounded staff. They listen to their ganjapreneurs' website needs. Getting into the marijuana industry doesn't need to break your bank. Our sites come with tons of features. Just a few of them include responsive designs for mobile viewers, easy to update platforms, built-in SEO and SMO tools, enterprise-level security, video Robert, were you hooked in tutorials, that whole time? database backups, Google Maps, onboard analytics, and much more. This is backed by a decade of website design and development experience. For all of your 420 web design needs, go to 420webdesign.com. Again, 420webdesign.com. Check them out.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain. For patients seeking quick pain relief, Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Hi, this is Larry Love from Medical Marijuana Radio. Please listen to this important information about a great device by MagicalButter.com to make your oils, tinctures, and butter.
Magical Butter is a device with a microprocessor-controlled program sequence designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. We believe in herbal remedies and using pharmaceutical pills only when medically necessary. Our device is simple to use. Combine herbs with butter or oil, press a button, and walk away. Magical Butter does everything else. It grinds, heats, and stirs. Please browse our site to discover how to eat the treat. Thank you for your support, and have a magical day.
Again, for your tinctures, butter, and oils, that's MagicalButter.com. This is a great appliance. Use coupon code LOVE to get $20 off.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is HEMP.org.
It's all about the 420 MMJ Radio.
Okay, we are back. Len, are you there? Len? Oh boy, here we go again. Let's see. Len, are you there, sir? Okay, Len, are you there? Robert, are you there? Okay, I'm going to try to get Len back. Testing 1, 2. We're going to get Len here. Len, are you there? Ooh, I love technology. Robert, are you there?
I am there. Hi, fellas.
Hi. I don't know if I have Len, but Robert, until Len gets back on, Robert Pack from the what is it, the Southwest? Give out the name, that long name of your alliance.
It's the Southeast New Mexico Medical Cannabis Alliance. We're in Carlsbad.
Southeast New Mexico Cannabis Alliance in Carlsbad. Fantastic. Okay, so anyway, so you've heard the news. What do you? How do you feel about it? And do you feel it's going to help the people in your end of the state?
Well, of course, any increase in the availability of medication is good for all the patients in the state, and that's just good news. That the increase of the potential increase of a plant count is just good news for everyone, and I certainly do hope that leads to better access for all of us. Of course, rural patients, as Lynn pointed out in his newsletter today from New Mexican, and touched on briefly earlier, access for rural patients is always an additional challenge. We have several producers that are stepping up to help out with that in deliveries. Our Greenleaf comes to mind. Natural RX has recently started a delivery program as well. And of course, any way that we can get more medication into rural New Mexico is what we are primarily interested in. Yes, we are certainly in favor of the increase in the plant count.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you think that that's enough to get medicine to your part of the state, or do you think the faster they give us some new producers that it's going to happen faster for you?
Well, again, as Lynn mentioned before, it'd take a while before a new producer would actually be up and actually providing medication to patients, regardless of where those patients might be. The increase of a plant count, on the other hand, if all the producers out there were able to double what it is they are currently producing, or even more than they're currently producing in some cases, that I think would at least help us immensely in the short term, if not longer. New producers, yes, of course, I'd love for there to be new producers. We're down 2 from our original 25, of course.
Right.
More producers would be great. The issue with that, as we've seen in rural New Mexico, is that just because a producer is in rural New Mexico doesn't necessarily mean that they service the rural part of the state exclusively, nor should they be expected to serve that part of the state exclusively. So we do understand those concerns as well. But yes, again, to reiterate, that the increased plant count is really good news.
Absolutely. I do. They had to do something. They've wasted so much time. Len, are you there? Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, great. Okay. So you were able to hear Robert.
Yes.
Now, do you guys sell to his part of the state? I guess you use Hot Shots or any of those other places. How much of your medicine, Len, is going to outer parts of the state?
About 5% of our sales are delivered as opposed to pickup.
5%. Okay, so that's not really. Is that just because people can't afford that kind of a delivery fee, or just you're sold out before people in other parts of the state can order, or why do you think it's so low?
Yeah, I don't think it's either of those things. First of all, we use a lot of delivery services. We use Natural RX. We use our Greenleaf. We use Hot Shot Services, who, by the way, Hot Shot Services, this is interesting, has just come up with a compassionate delivery fee schedule.
Wow.
And medical cannabis patients now get a much cheaper delivery. They're still more expensive than the $10 that Natural RX and our Greenleaf is providing, which, by the way, we've started another delivery service, or we're called Yonder Hombre, which is only up into the north.
Is that Lars?
Yeah, and
cool.
that's a $10 service as well. And Hot Shots dropped down to where they can deliver for 20. And the advantage for Hot Shot is that's next day. That's not once a month. In to Las Cruces, that's that's twice a week. And for the rest of the state where they service, it's 6 days a week with a next day delivery service. So for the patients in remote quadrants who are stuck with a once a month delivery through our Greenleaf, and it's great that that's happening, there's now another avenue. I don't think that's the reason why we don't have a larger share of rural patients. I think it goes more to the fact that what a patient, look, it's the difference between walking into a retail store and ordering online. If you know exactly what you want, you want a pair of Levi's 501 jeans and 3632s, it doesn't matter where you get them. But if you're looking for a pair of jeans that you like and is going to fit the way you want, you don't know what it is, you don't want to order online. You don't trust it. You don't know what it is. Most patients want to be able to come into a facility, discuss their needs, get input, see what's available, make decisions, weigh how much money they have to spend against what their options are while they're looking at it, smelling it, talking about it. What rural patients need are locations. They need to be able, it's the same problem that in healthcare delivery of all kinds that's experienced in a large, widely dispersed state where you have small populations in remote areas.
Well, let me ask Robert.
Gotta have something that's possible.
Robert, because you've been talking about this and you're in a rural part of the state, where in your area would be the best suited place for a new producer that would handle the shortage that you've been fighting for that Carlsbad area? Where would it be that would serve most of that area?
I'm going to answer the question, Larry, because where Robert would like it is next door.
Exactly. That's exactly right, Lynn. And I think every patient would mirror that sentiment. I don't know. I really, really do agree with what Lynn is saying here. I don't know that a producer close by would necessarily fill the needs of the local of the local population. We do have a producer close by in Carlsbad, and they in fact do not serve the local area. So
where are they serving, Robert?
That they are sending all of their medication to Albuquerque, or at least they were last I knew. But that's neither here nor there. Again, a producer can't be required to serve a particular part of the state. That's not workable.
Let me just ask Len something.
What Lynn is saying, though, I completely and totally support and completely agree with. Rural patients need locations, and they need to be safe for not only the patients, but for the producers that are participating, for the neighborhoods, the whole thing. I wholeheartedly agree with where Lynn's going with this.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Lynn, if an application has a business plan, are they required to stick to it by the MCP and the DOH, or can they just be growing in Carlsbad and open up a dispensary or ship it somewhere else? I mean, how fair is that?
Well, those are a couple of questions, Larry. The way the process is right now, and I think this will continue, and actually it should, the application that you turn in is a contract that you're willing to enter into, and you specify what your contract terms are. It's accepted. That's your agreement. And to make changes to that contract, which is a two-way street between Department of Health and the LMP, when it was signed, requires mutual consent for that change to happen. When we first opened up, when New Mexican opened up in 2009, there were no, quote, dispensaries. And the department's position was you couldn't do it because we'd become like California.
Right. The department's position, Len, the department's position also was not to use the word dispensary. They were just dancing around the whole thing.
But when we got licensed in November of 2009. By January of 2010, we had an office and a distribution point for patients to come and pick up at. And the other producers, there were 4 others, said, oh, we want to do the same. And they talked to the department, and the department said, no, we're not going to do it. They said, well, why can Len do it? And they said, because that was what was in his application. And when we approved his application, his delivery method, in addition to deliveries, his method of dispensing the patients was in a physical location, and they accepted it. So let's go to the other question, because I think that's where it needs to be addressed. Rural access is critical. How do you address that? And what needs to be recognized is there are 2 different businesses operating under every license. There's a cultivation business and there's a distribution business. Those locations do not need to be tied together. They also do not need to be limited to a single distribution location. What New Mexican would do, if Department of Health would grant us this right, and we had sufficient plants to do it with, we would open up satellite locations, just like you have remote clinics for healthcare access in remote parts of the state. We could have an office that's open in Carlsbad 2 half-days a week, which would provide twice-a-week access where the patient could come in. So we'd have a small office. It'd be open 2 days a week. We'd have another office in Taos that would be open 2 half-days a week. We could have a series of these.
Right.
And now that you can transfer medicine between producers, those distribution locations are no longer limited to just the output of that producer. If we opened one up in Carlsbad and Natural RX wanted to transfer medicine to New Mexican, we could distribute it there.
Mm-hmm. What about this?
And other people could do the same. It could become cooperative.
Len, would you think they would allow, let's say, 5 producers to rent one place and then each one has it 1 day or 2 days a week? Do you think that would be allowed?
Yes, but it makes no sense. Now you're saying, I mean, I'm sorry, Larry, but it doesn't make sense from a patient standpoint. Now the patient has to go in, 3 times a week to see what's there. And the overheads aren't going to work. The reason that the rural producers have got to go into the larger demographic areas to be able to sell their harvests is because the patient load doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
If we
That's
had,
right.
here's
Absolutely.
a better model. Here's a better model. Let's say that New Mexican and Natural RX and Minerva, just example, 3 particular ones who do produce a significant yield. We all produce significant yields. We're among the largest producers. There are others as well. Our Greenleaf is one also, and there are several others. But let's say that I was allowed a second location. So I open it in Carlsbad, and Natural RX is allowed a second location, and they open it up in Tierra Maria. And Minerva's allowed a second location, and they open it up in Hobbs. Whatever, pick your points. All right? Those are our locations. We each have a second location, but we can handle the medicine from each of it. So we could work cooperatively, and when the patient came into the New Mexican location in Carlsbad, they'd have 3 producers to choose from. So twice a week, the limited number of patients could come into that distribution point. They could look at 3 or 4 producers worth of medicine. They could have a knowledgeable person talking to them, and they could have the same experience they can have in Santa Fe, where they can go from New Mexican to Sacred Garden to New Mexico Top Organics to Fruit of the Earth, and meet their needs. That's the kind of system we have to work for, and it's the only thing that's feasible. Delivery really should be limited to patients who are homebound.
That's right. That's right. The safety factor is just going to be so increased by having locations.
Absolutely. We're running up to the top of the hour here. So, Robert, why don't you go ahead and give out how people can contact you and your organization and when your next meetings are and so forth, and then I'll let Len sign off after that.
Okay, Larry, I'd be happy to. Again, we're the Southeast New Mexico Medical Cannabis Alliance. We're a patient advocacy group in Southeast New Mexico. You can contact us, phone number, area code 831-917-5314. Once again, that's 831-917-5314. You can email us at Medican, SENM, that's Medican, Southeast New Mexico, at yahoo.com. Call us. I can give you information on our next meeting, location, times, the whole thing. We are in the process of moving our meeting location, so there'll be a forthcoming announcement about that. And Larry, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Len, I will be seeing you this week.
Only if you get here before Tuesday or Wednesday morning. I'm heading to California for the American Herbal Products Association Cannabis Committee meeting. We are finalizing the 4 sets of guidelines we've been working on for a year and a half.
I'm jealous.
I'm jealous too. I want to go to L.A. or where are you going in California, Len?
Anaheim. Don't get that jealous.
All right.
We're not that jealous then. I retract that jealousy.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I am too. All right, Robert, thank you very much. Len, why don't you go ahead and give out your website and how people can come and visit you and get your fine medicine.
Oh, patients know where we are, Larry.
Len Goodman.
But for those who are not patients listening to this, www.newmexican, that has an extra N on the end for cannabis. So NEWMEXICANN.org, and you're welcome to come visit us. Our store, the doors are open. It's open to patients and non-patients. Anyone who wants to come in and talk about cannabis, discuss cannabis, find out how to become a patient, wants information, wants healthcare guidance, we're there. We're there for everyone.
Thank you very much.
You just can't buy anything.
Not for another couple of years. Then they will be able to.
Not unless you got your card, and hopefully in a couple of years, all you'll need is a driver's license.
Are you going up to Denver during the 420 time, or is that just too crazy up there?
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't interest me. Yeah. I'm interested in in our business. I'm interested in our patients. I'm interested in production. I'm interested in the distribution. I'm interested in the medical aspect. So I go to the Drug Policy Alliance convention every 2 years, which is work to end the drug war. I go to the Patients at a Time conference every 2 years, which is pure medical information. I'll be at the ASA Unity Conference in Washington and addressing some folks there for Americans for Safe Access. I'm interested in policy. I'm interested in change. I don't need to go to Denver to Medicaid.
Well, no, that's true.
And
but
I don't need to go to Denver to get good medicine. And I don't need to go to Denver to have good times with good friends.
Absolutely.
But I hope you guys who are going have a wonderful time.
Well, there's business to be done up there, for sure. That's the only reason I'm going. I went to the High Times Cup 2 years ago, and honestly, if it wasn't the fact that I need to do some business up there, I wouldn't go, because I've been to 2 High Times Cups. They're fantastic to go to, but if you've been to one, you've been to all of them. Anyway.
I wish there were a Dead concert, Larry, and we could go to that. I would be gone in a flash.
Well, you'd have to drag me kicking and screaming, which is the way I went to a Dead concert back in about '78. But anyway, Len, thank you very much. That's Len Goodman from New Mexican here in Santa Fe. And we're going to play a quick tune here, and then we'll close out the show. It's been a long time coming that we get these changes to the New Mexico program. And between that, it's been a long time gone.
It's been a long time coming. It's going to be a long time gone. And it appears to be a long, appears to be a long, appears to be a long time. It's a long, 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 long time before the dawn. Turn any corner. Here, you must hear what the people say. That something is going on around here. It surely won't stand the light of day. No. And it appears to be a long haul. Yes, it does. Appears to be a long haul. Appears to be a long haul. Time, such a long, long time before the dawn. Speak out, you got to speak out against the madness. You got to speak your mind if you dare. Don't try to get yourself elected. If you do, you had better cut your hair. And it appears to be a long haul. Yes, it does. Appears to be a long haul. Appears to be a long haul. Time, such a long, 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 long time before the dawn. It's been a long time coming. It's going to be a long time gone. But you know such a long, 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 long time before the dawn.
The medical marijuana. The medical marijuana. Radio. Radio. Show.
Well, I want to thank Len Goodman from New Mexican Natural Medicine up here in Santa Fe, and Robert Pack for calling in and commenting on the changes here. I hope that these changes will help the program. I hope they will. And people like Len and Robert and myself will fight for the patients out there. That's why we're in this business. Some people are in it to make money. Some people are in it for the patients. Anyway, I want to thank my two radio mentors, both with the initials HS. Thank you for your inspiration. And don't forget, we're here every Friday night at, let's see, what time? Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific. Saturday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific. Do the math in the other time zones. If you have any information you'd like us to have or requests, info@mmjradio.com. Again, info@mmjradio.com. Thank you, Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network, for putting our show out there. Archives available on Time for Hemp as well. And we'll be back next week. Don't forget Wednesdays with Larawana on canawanabuy.com. Canawanabuy.com. I do a short 5-minute show.
Shalom.